Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Nasscom, SPO, and all the organizers for inviting me here and requesting me to share our experience vis-a-vis disability hiring of people with disabilities. And thank you, Chair, Moderator, for having me be the first speaker on this. Some of you may have known me. This is, when I speak about disability inclusion or inclusion of people with disabilities, I am forced to share a little bit about the background, my own background, and also how it all started at Mphasis. And one of the key takeaways that I would want from my presentation, there is no formal presentation, I'm just going to talk about it, is that while disability has been relegated more to diversity, at Mphasis we adopted a very different approach wherein we made investment in disability-related programs as a key strategic focus of CSR. So the broad focus of Mphasis CSR is technology-driven community development, inclusion and livelihoods. These are three broad sectors, and within which how we have included disability. So disability is not a standalone agenda item in CSR, but cuts through all the broad sectors. I joined Mphasis in 2007, and at that time, the company hired me with a mandate to hire people with disabilities and also to run the CSR program. At that time, the budgets were very small. In 2007, there was no such 2% mandate. It was very little money and one or two NGOs being supported. Education was the focus. So it was building the whole program and also focusing on hiring people with disabilities. So it was part internal and part external. And my boss at that time had a discussion with me on goal setting, and he said that I want you to have make sure that by the end of 2008, 5% of our workforce should comprise of people with disabilities. And I was ready to quit at that time because I came from disability sector. I'm a person with disability myself. When I was in school, I was in college, I was in university, I was studying. Most of the times, I was the only disabled student in the class. You are talking of graduates, BCAs, MCAs, IT professionals, and you are having a 5% mandate. Have you seen the infrastructure outside? How many people with disabilities actually reach college? How many complete their education? How many complete their schooling? So can a 5% kind of goal setting be logical and practical? So my question was there. And for me, even if you hire one person with disability, if you are not providing the right support, not providing the right reasonable accommodation for him or her to be able to perform on par with others, that's discrimination. That's exclusion. Because inclusion is not about just hiring. Inclusion is about several other things. It's about policies, it's about infrastructure, and it's about procurement. It's about training. It's about building capabilities. So when I started, that's how we started. That, okay, we will start, we have to have some number in mind. So we said, okay, let's stick to 1%. Can we reach just 1% in next 1 year? It took us 2 years, but we reached more than 1%. And how we did it? First is the leadership buy-in internally was very critical. So having the leaders aligned to that goal, that we are hiring people with disabilities not because we want to win awards or because they bring a lot of benefits to us, or they are an inspiration to everyone else, because I'm a disability activist as well, and hence I keep these discussions open around why do you hire people with disabilities? Why do you look for inspiration in them? It's not inspiration porn. I don't like myself to be an inspiration for everybody, to look into my life, to look into my journey. There are several aspects to disability which cut across and which are linked to opportunity. I was at the right place, got the right opportunity. My family played a very critical role, so disability and privilege plays a very important role. And it is that privilege that forces a lot of people with disabilities from remaining at the margins, from not being able to access schooling, not being able to get education. So internally, we did a lot of things. One is we started hiring, we started partnering with NGOs. We also realized that NGOs are more urban-centric. They do not have enough reach. So we use mainstream media to hire people, so local media. And through that, we were able to get a lot of people who came for the interview. But we also realized that not everybody was employable. So trainable candidates were there, but employable weren't there. So shortlisting trainable candidates and then partnering with NGOs to train them in the skills that we needed. So using the CSR money to build the skills required by the industry. Not everybody was hired by Mphasis, but they were trained enough to be hired by other corporates. Then, as we started working in this space, we realized that there are so many barriers that people with disabilities face in education, in transportation, in reasonable accommodations. A lot of times, even qualified candidates, when they joined the company, they were clueless. They did not know even what kind of reasonable accommodation to ask for, which made us think that, we need to think broad, we need to think big, we need to think beyond the four walls of the company. That while the company can hire and make a difference to a few people with disabilities, we had to tweak our policies. We have a diversity policy which is inclusive of people with disabilities. We looked at a lot of our other policies and made changes in them. For example, when it came to reasonable accommodation, simple example, we had our Indore center and we had 70 people with disabilities. And the hiring manager and the training manager said, we need 70 wheelchairs for 70 people. I said, have they asked for it? First is that they need to ask for it. And do we want to convert the parking lot into a wheelchair parking lot? Have a policy in place. Ask, the onus is on the person to ask for reasonable accommodation. Where an item is of personal use and the person is going to use it throughout the day, then it's not a reasonable accommodation. Then it means he or she wants to enhance the quality of his or her own life. And how do we make a policy which will impact that? So we introduced an advance loan policy. And we said that you can go, we will give you an advance loan. Go ahead and buy anything that will enhance the quality of your life. Whether it's a software, whether it's a hearing aid, whether it's a wheelchair, motorized wheelchair, you want to modify your vehicle to enhance your mobility, we'll give you interest-free loan for 10 months and you can use that. And that advance policy is not a standalone advance policy, it is an advance policy which is given to other employees as well. So it's not a favor, but it's part of a regular policy. That's how we did it. Then, as I was talking about reasonable accommodations, a lot of people, when they came in, they didn't know what to ask for because they were not aware what technology is available, how they can enhance their productivity, because they struggled in colleges, they struggled in schools. Nobody provided them reasonable accommodations. So that made us think that, we need to create these little pilots which could then be templatized and replicated elsewhere. Some of our standalone programs which have been a success, and to this day I continue to remain very proud of some of those interventions. Office of Disability Services at IIM Bangalore. 3 days back there was an interview of this candidate who's a quadriplegic, Jaskaran, and he cleared his CAT and he said that I got admission elsewhere as well, but I chose IIM Bangalore because there is an Office of Disability Services and I knew I will be accommodated I will be given my rights and entitlements without being questioned, without being made to feel that anybody is doing a charity. And I felt so good that this is something that Mphasis initiated 5 years back, and IIMB has continued to run this in a very structured way. All the students, it is the #1 institution of choice for people with disabilities. And they come through a strict competition. So it's not that there is a substandard quality that is entering there, or there is a compromise there, but qualified candidates are entering there, but they want quality services, which they can get at as a right, as an entitlement. Then kickstart cabs. As we hired people, we realized transport is such an important factor, and lack of accessible transportation can hinder people from accessing jobs, from accessing education. I'm on the jury of Workability Asia conference, and I was assessing the abstracts yesterday on my flight, on the flight. 90% of them said people with disabilities are unable to get jobs or reach the workplace because there is no accessible transportation, and they are not able to go anywhere. We started Kickstart Cabs. It's India's first accessible taxi service. We have scaled it up this year. It's in Bangalore. These are modified cabs. The demand was so huge when we started it 4 years back that they were not able to meet the demand with just 4 cabs. So today they have 11 cabs now running in Bangalore. We cannot fund in every city. We have limitations. But recently I saw Meru has partnered with Easy Move. I thought what we initiated, our goal has been met. That all mainstream cab services need to cater to people with disabilities. Why should there be a standalone kickstart? So create a template, move on. This year we are partnering with IIM Bangalore to set up a digital accessibility initiative, which is in line with government's Digital India mission. There is need for research, there is need for services, there is need for products to be made accessible, which are India-centric. There is a lot to do in that space, and we are hoping that this long-term partnership in a management institute of that repute will lead to great outcomes on inclusion of people with disabilities in digital India. I have 5 more minutes? 3 minutes. So I think I will leave it to question and answer session. I can just go on and on about what we have done. I don't want to do that. I want pointed questions for people to ask. So thank you so much.